Yes, Spurs fans, and welcome to another Hotspur live stream as our beloved Tottenham Hotspur play host to the Black Cats of Sunderland. This one actually is kind of an intriguing matchup as Sunderland have done a very good job of consolidating in their first year back after 8 years adrift in the Football League. Kudos to Regis Labrie. They had a mission and they set out, and it looks like they are going to accomplish it. Meanwhile, Spurs are coming off what I consider one of the most dreadful performances against Brentford, a team that was literally just set up to not to lose. There was absolutely no ambition. There was no front-footed football, and as a result, I think Spurs managed only 3 shots on net that entire game, only 1 corner. From that standpoint, Spurs actually have an opportunity today to pick up a massive 3 points. Now, if you look at the table, you will see that only 3 points separate these two sides. But that being said, that gap might as well be a mile wide, just considering where these two teams are currently at when it comes to their form. Speaking of form, Sunderland, by the way, a much better team at the Stadium of Light versus their road form. And so from that standpoint, you can understand why Spurs fans might think this might be a golden opportunity to get themselves back into, a top 10 position, get level on points. But that being said, Spurs home form isn't exactly the greatest as well, too. And so when you look at this matchup, obviously it's going to come down to tactics, because it's going to be whether or not Spurs are going to be able to have that front-footed ambition to put themselves in a position where maybe they can get off to a good start, and by halftime, almost have a repeat of the last time we saw them at home against Brentford. So we will see. I want to welcome in a few people. We have Nateski75. What's going on? RIFC TID. Dude, I love the fact that Nateski comes strong and represents Rhode Island FC. I love that. And of course, we have my guy Dan Davenport, who is always around, man. I love Dan. Before we get into it, make sure, by the way, you hit the like and subscribe buttons, and also hit the notification bell as well, too, so you don't miss out on any upcoming Stateside Footy content, including the upcoming week, because obviously we have Yanks Abroad on Monday, and we're also going to do a show about young U.S. men's national team players that need to make the move abroad. So there's definitely going to be some good stuff coming down the pipe. All right, let's go ahead and get into it, and let's talk about today's visitors, and of course the Black Cats, Sunderland AFC, who currently right now sit in 7th place on 29 points, unbeaten in their last 4, including a win and 3 draws. They're going to be lined up in a 4-2-3-1, and we start in the back with Robin Roofs, who probably is one of the best goalkeepers, very underrated keeper in the Premier League. He has actually hit the ground running with a bang. Me personally, I like the style in which he plays. Doesn't get caught out. Very good goalkeeper. Their back 4 is going to be Hume on the right side, a double pivot of Mukulele and Eldredi, and of course on the left-hand side it will be Sirkin. The double pivot of Gertruda and Granit Xhaka. And, of course, Granit Xhaka, a wonderful signing for Sunderland in this last offseason. And, of course, he wears the captain armband. And when you look at the way that this team plays, they are an absolute, they play to the identity and the hustle and the physicality of the likeness of Granit Xhaka. And of course, he will be playing a pivotal role today. The midfield 3 will be Mayenda on the right-hand side and then Dingra on the left-hand side. And that's somebody that Spurs are going to have to keep an eye on, because Dingra quietly has put together quite an impressive season. Underneath will be Lafie, and up top will be Brian Brobbery. Of course, Brobbery is a Dutch striker, and he's cutting his teeth quite well here at the Premier League. And so when you look at the way that Sunderland is set up, number one, they are going to be absolutely compact and organized defensively. And of course, they're going to take their chances on the counterattack as well, too. They get numbers forward, and they get numbers forward with a quickness as well, too. They can be extremely dangerous if you're not paying attention to certain players. And that's going to be something where Spurs are going to have to be up to the task defensively. And of course, over the course of the last couple of weeks, Spurs have done a very good job defensive wise, pitching 2 clean sheets in their last 2. And so from that standpoint, you wouldn't think that this task of stopping the Sunderland counterattack is going to be that much of a challenge. But that being said, they bring numbers forward in waves, of course, they're one of their bigger wins on the road this year came at Stamford Bridge, and the way that they were able to pull that 3 certainly was impressive. Let's see. Dan Davenport says Spurs younger player Jamie Donnelly has joined one of my local teams. Yeah, I saw that. Who knows if that's going to turn out well for the second half of the season for Donnelly. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to our Spurs. And this is kind of interesting because last week we were essentially set up in the exact same formation. Of course, it was João Palhinha and Rodrigo Betancourt in the double pivot with Archie Gray playing forward. And because of it, we had absolutely zero. We had zero central play. We had trouble with the link up play. Couldn't string two passes together. This week they're going to try. Thomas Frank is going to try to remedy that with Mohamed Kudus playing in a more central role, which is actually not bad, just considering that he does give you the hold up play and his physicality. He's going to be able. There's going to be a little bit more play from central, playing off the shoulder of a guy. There's going to be far more balls forward. And when you look at the speed on the wings between Wilson Odobert and Matisse Tell, we're like, in theory, playing this way, we're going to see a lot more balls played forward, which means we're going to be able to play onto our speed. But let's go ahead and get into it because obviously in net it's going to be Guillermo Vicario. And of course, last week Vicario took a yellow card, obviously for I guess you could say stalling, but it is what it is. The back line, this is kind of interesting though, because on the right-hand side, of course, customary is going to be Pedro Porro. The center back pairing between Christian Romero, who's wearing the captain's armband, and Mickey Van de Ven. But on the left-hand side, no Jed Spence, as Thomas Frank has opted to go with Ben Davis. And of course, Davis, this is actually going to be his first start of the season. And when you were looking at some of the issues that we were having last week, especially in the first half, where you saw Wilson Odobert get himself in position to beat his defender, balls were not coming forward. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, Jed Spence is a right-footed player. And when you look at some of those passing angles, you can understand why that ball didn't go forward. Unfortunately, because of that, we weren't able to utilize Wilson Odobert's touch and his speed to get balls into the box. And that was part of the reason why Ben Davis is being called upon, because again, left-footed player. So from that standpoint, there's going to be, there's the potential for cleaner passes down the left-hand side. Now, obviously, Davis can't push forward. And so you're probably going to see more of a withdrawn left back. And as this thing moves forward, it'll look like a back 3 with Davis, Van de Ven, and Romero drop deep. Now, the question is, what's going to happen with this midfield too? Because today it's Rodrigo Betancourt and Archie Gray. And I get the impression that, Rodrigo Betancourt is going to be the withdrawn 6. He's going to stay back. He's going to stay back and man those central areas. And as this ball, continues to progress forward, Archie Gray is going to be that link up between him and Mohamed Kudus. And Archie Gray, in a more of a box-to-box role, is actually pretty good. He's also the guy that makes late runs as that ball is getting played forward. So from that standpoint, I have a feeling it's going to look like a little bit more 2 high attacking 10s. Although, in this situation, Archie Gray is not going to be necessarily pushed high in the buildup outside of late arriving runs off the right hand side. And so from that standpoint, I kind of like Archie Gray in this role. The midfield 3 for Thomas Frank will be Wilson Odobert off the left, no surprise. Matisse Tell is going to be deployed on the right-hand side, and this is kind of intriguing as well, too. Matisse Tell is thought of a little bit more of as a left-sided attacker, but that being said, one of the things that Matisse Tell has is pace. And he also has a little bit of a physical, he's also has a little bit of a physical presence. And I don't necessarily think that he's going to be out of his depth on the right-hand side. And especially if, especially in the counterattack, if the ball gets played to a central area, you wonder whether that there's going to be through balls to a guy like Matisse Tell, who has that speed, and he does have that a little bit of that ambition in it as well too. And you wonder whether or not that is going to play. And of course, Richarlison will be up top, and of course, Richarlison is in a currently in form. So let's go ahead and take ourselves down to the pitch, as we are going to be ready to play. As it looks like the boys are in their huddle, as we are getting set here from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This is an absolutely massive fixture for these two teams. Of course, Sunderland is looking to continue to kick on in their consolidation effort to stay up after 8 years adrift. And of course, for Thomas Frank, it's righting the wrongs of essentially the last two, especially the last one against Brentford. And so from that standpoint, you would like to think that maybe the handbrake might come off. But also a big part of me feels like that also may not come to fruition as well too. So this is going to be a massive fixture for Spurs. And considering all the turmoil that we've seen, Thomas Frank badly needs 3 points. So the ball is away, as Vicario will play this up the left-hand side, as it drops to Wilson Odobert, and immediately Bentancur will play it off to Romero, who tries to play one forward to Richarlison, although that ball goes a little bit too far forward. And now Sunderland will have their first opportunity with the ball. And now they press it wide to the left. The Sirkin will play one forward. But right there is Romero. And Spurs will hold possession as Porro will play it back to Vicario. And of course, in the first 10 minutes, it's going to be absolutely necessary for Spurs to be on the front foot and try to nick an early goal to get some of that momentum. And here's Matisse Tell now drifting from the left. Tell will put one on as that ricochets off Robin Roofs, but right there, he's there to collect it. So Matisse Tell early, taking a nice little chance from the outside. As we've seen it from that cluster, he comes off the left-hand side, and he does have the space to put one off right there. And we have a man down. So as of right now, it looks like Matisse Tell is coming in off the left, and it looks like Odobert is going to. It looks like early right now. It looks like Odobert is manning that central area, and it looks like maybe Kudus might be off the right. Is that shot actually ricocheted off of Aldredi right there? As Sunderland now will try to play out of the back, as Roofs now will pick it up. As that ball will drift to the left-hand side, as now they're going to be playing it between the two, between the goalie and the center backs. Here's Mukulele right now, and who's going to play this one forward. Tottenham did a very good job of pressing right there, as that ball will drop. And they're going to say that ball gets out, and it'll be a Sunderland throw-in. As Ben Davis, I thought Ben Davis did a pretty good job right there to make sure that ball went out, but apparently it ricochets off and out for a Sunderland throw-in. As it looks like Gertruda will be responsible for this throw-in. And Spurs quickly will throw it in as Van de Ven plays it back to Vicario. And Vicario will play it off to Romero. And Porro has no choice but to try to play it forward. But he does find Mohamed Kudus, who Kudus automatically just slows it down and plays it into Porro. And now Porro is going to have to play this one all the way. And Davis is going to have to make a run to go get it, but brings it in. So Spurs will still remain with possession. And so far you're seeing Mohamed Kudus in his first touch pull back instead of trying to attack forward down the right-hand side. He slows things down. So that's going to be interesting to see if that's going to be a continuing trend. As here's Matisse Tell, who has to draw back to make a touch. And Betancourt will try to play it forward, but there was Mukulele. And Spurs will concede possession to Sunderland now. Will hold the ball. Richarlison is trying to press. That's a nice little job right there by Matisse Tell. As that ball ricochets off the split, so that'll go out. As it looks like probably Gertruda will be responsible for the throw-in. Interesting start to this. Interesting start to this match. Obviously, the two teams are, even though they're only separated by 3 points in the table, the gulf between the two couldn't be longer. At least, with Sunderland, they have an attacking identity under Regis Labrie. They know exactly what they're going to do, how they want to accomplish it, where Spurs are still trying to figure out exactly who they want to be as a club, as that ball's nearly taken away, as that'll get out, as it looked like Pedro Porro almost got his back pocket picked right there, as there was no outlet for the Sunderland press here. As we look in, it's Dan Davenport, who, do you know any gossip who Spurs are looking to replace Johnson? As of right now, it's looking like they want Jan Diamante or Savinho, if not both. Me personally, I don't believe in Savinho at all. He goes on and says, what's your opinion of the American ownership of Chelsea sacking Maresca? I liked it. The biggest reason why I liked it was because they're not afraid to make a change if they felt like their season was slipping away. Apparently, there was some turmoil between Maresca and ownership, and of course that played into it. As it looks like Gertruda here will push Matisse Tell in the back, so there's going to be a whistle right there. But that's the thing. It's like this is the first time we saw it. Last year, Manchester United under Eric Ten Hag, when it felt like the season was slipping away, United had no problem pulling the plug. And it's the same thing with Chelsea. And sometimes you have to be shrewd, as that ball is going to take a deflection. But there is Pedro Porro, who's now going to play it forward, and it's going to be Kudus now from the outside off the right-hand side. He's going to try to play one in, but Mukulele was there to clear that out. Not exactly the most ambitious counterattack right there. As again, Mohamed Kudus will pull up instead of driving around the corner. So this will go out for a Spurs throw, and it'll be Ben Davis probably with the long throw in. Why did Chelsea intercept sack Tuchel? Again, probably personal reasons, but that's Chelsea. As this ball will get played in, as it'll take a bounce and it'll go out, but it looks like it was off Christian Romero, so this will be a goal kick. Yeah, it's interesting. If I can remember, after the Champions League, they didn't get off to the greatest start, and so they made the decision to sack him. And listen, man, that is the big club mentality, where the standards are extremely high, and if you're not meeting those standards, and there's no excuses considering the way that Chelsea spent, right? So from that standpoint, there is a certain expectation where you have to win every single game. As Richarlison nearly took that one away from Robin Roofs, but he was miles offside at that standpoint. It was a good opportunity, as it looked like it was Van de Ven coming in, making a great challenge. As Odegaard played it forward, but Richarlison was literally 4 body lengths offside. So good challenge right there from Mickey Van de Ven. As that long ball will drop, as Van de Ven will play it back to Vicario. Yeah, you would think in under normal circumstances, if a manager wins you the biggest trophy in all of club football, that there might be that's a good ball that's going to be taken away. it's Pedro Porro who's going to try to go from distance as that clears the crossbar and a little bit to the right. And it's nice to see a smile on the face of a guy like Pedro Porro, who stepped in and was able to take that one away from Adingra right there. And he just thought he would be a little cheeky by playing one forward. He's got it in his locker. Why not? It's nice to see Spurs are trying things in the attack. So here's Roofs. He's going to play one long. And there is Vicario. As it looks like that might have been Brodery. That made collision, but Spurs will have the possession here. As Vicario now plays one long. And that clears everybody as it looks like Gertruda will have the last touch here. So that goes out as Davis will try to play one in. Here's Richarlison. And it's nice to see Spurs are trying to actively get forward here in the first 10 minutes as we are approaching 10. Just a quick reminder to make sure that you guys hit the like and subscribe buttons and also hit the notification bell as well, too, so you don't miss out on any upcoming Stateside Footy content. So Ben Davis will have the long throw in here. And it looks like Tell's coming short, but this ball is going to go into the box here. As that's hit forward. As Porro came in, as that ball continues to knock around the box. As that will drop back to Pedro Porro, Spurs will hold it in. As that ball will make its way over to Ben Davis, who's going to try to put one back post. But there's Robin Roofs, as it didn't necessarily get back post, as it drifted more into a central area. And Roofs was able to come out and command that ball. So far, so good. If you're a Spurs fan, it looks like they're trying to be a little daring. That's a good play right there. As that ball is going to drop to Richarlison, and he couldn't get all of it. As Wilson Odobert was the first one to engage on the press, was able to get a high turnover. As that ball found its way to Richarlison off that left-hand side, but unfortunately was not able to get a clean strike on the ball. Here's another turnover. Here's Kudus. Oh, and that's tipped away. Oh. As Kudus had his back pocket picked right there. But that was a clean turnover from Rodrigo Betancourt high up the pitch. As Spurs are being quite daring on their counter press here. As that ball will get switched to Hume off the right-hand side. And immediately he goes forward. Right there is Van de Ven as that one will go out. As they were looking for Maenda. So Sunderland will have the throw-in. Not bad. Not bad compared to what we saw a week, just a few days ago. As that ball will come down, and it looks like Betancourt will end up with it. As that ball, Betancourt does a very good job right there of playing it off. It looked like that might have been Lafille right there. So, as Spurs will have the goal kick here, and of course they're going to start from the back. As Vicario will play it down to Davis, who does find Archie Gray. And Gray couldn't play as well, but the ball gets turned over. So here comes Archie Gray now. And he's got room. Here's Gray as he tries to find Kudus, but it pops to Pedro Porro, who puts one at the back post. And Richarlison was there. Gray's touch was just a little underhanded as Hume was there. Sirkin was there to head it away, but right there was Pedro Porro, who puts in a dime piece of a cross. Richarlison was there, but Mukulele was there to play it out. So this will be Spurs' first corner as Matisse Tell will take the corner As that ball goes in, back post, Robin Roofs to hit it away. And it looks like there is a foul against Ben Davis, and it looked like it was against Maeda right there. So obviously, man, we're getting close to the first 15 minutes, and it looks like Spurs are absolutely pressing forward. They are on the front foot, and they are trying to take advantage of a Sunderland team that is without quite a bit. They are without quite a bit, as they're also missing one of their key center backs who was out injured. As Xhaka will have to play it back, so Spurs are doing a very good job here on the counter press, as they are actually attacking the ball, and it looks like they're up for it today. But here comes Sunderland now as they carry this ball up to the midline, as they will play it off. Here's Hume. And now Sunderland will control the ball as they try to build up. And I'll try to here. Down the left-hand side, we'll play it to Granit Xhaka. As they play it all the way to Gertruda here on the right-hand side. Spurs defensively will have two lines of four, essentially defending in a 4-4-2. As Xhaka will hold the ball here. As they are trying to attack down the right-hand side, there's a ball in. And Van de Ven did clear it. But Matisse Tell, trying to clear it down, kind of flails as that ball goes out. So this will be a Sunderland throw-in. And it looks like Kudus is down. As it looks like it might be Mukulele responsible for this throw-in. As Kudus. Apparently it's down enough where the physios have to come out. And we'll get an idea here. As he's pointing to his upper thigh on the left-hand side over there by the hip. And this is something that might be a little alarming. And we'll let you know as soon as we get word. But one of the things that I think no, not really. Not really. I'm not a big hockey guy, so probably not. You know, one of the interesting things that Dan Davenport brought up was the sacking of Enzo Maresca. And I think that is the difference in these two clubs, as it looks like Randall Kolomowani is coming out, is getting ready to come in. So it looks like they're going to bring Kudus off here in the 17th minute. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this changes the shape and the complexity of this Spurs attack. That's actually has not been terrible, but now that Kudus is coming off, and you wonder whether or not this is going to be a long-term injury here. So we will see what this will look like in the next 5-10 minutes of whether or not Spurs are still going to be attacking, or is this going to be more of a long through ball type of direct counterattack? We'll see. But the differences between mentalities between the two clubs, right? Because Chelsea, from the top to the bottom, has an expectation where they spend money, they bring in quality. There is an expectation that underperforming is not something that they're going to tolerate. And, listen, man, they gave Maresca a year. Of course, when you look at what they were able to accomplish last year, coming into this year, the expectations were absolutely high. Some of these results just weren't good enough. And so from that standpoint, they're not going to waste much time. And I think that is the difference between Chelsea and Spurs, is the fact that I think a lot of people can understand that this probably isn't going to work. For instance, if we are to drop this one, as Granit Xhaka will be standing over the corner, and he kind of slips on the slips right there. So, if Spurs had a big club mentality and the expectation levels were set in the club, Thomas Frank probably would have been sacked a while ago. As Xhaka will try to put one in, and it looks like it was Odebear that finally got the clearance there. And Odebear steps in front of one here, gets the block, and Xhaka now will try to play it forward as a means to clear. So very good job defensively here from Spurs. And here's Ben Davis, and he's going to play one forward because he's got Richarlison between the two. It drops to Odebear. Here's Pedro Porro. Here's RKM. And RKM plays one that's a little too wide. But right there was Matisse Tell, as this is starting to look a little Keystone Cop-ish here. And now Spurs are going to have to settle things down, as they were looking to get forward in a hurry, but Rando Colomwani's pass was absolutely misguided. So unfortunately, now Spurs are going to have to sit here and play in their customary horseshoe. Here's Matisse Tell trying to play one over, as there's going to be a whistle, and it looks like Maenda is down. So that's definitely devastating right there. As the unforced error, the mistakes have reared their ugly head here in the 20th minute. So Robin Roos will send this one long, as Betancourt will play it forward. That's a good ball forward from Odebear. Here's RKM, and he's going to try to play one forward, but was underserved, as it looked like it might have been Sirkin there. As Spurs take the ball away, it's Betancourt. Here's Odebear, tipped away. As Spurs will continue to hold this ball in. That's a good ball to RKM. Here's Archie Gray. Here's Richarlison, as the ball is just ping-ponging in the box, and now it looks like Sunderland will try to clear it, but there's Romero to hold it in. Here's Richarlison. Lays it back. Porro. Back post, and it sails. As Spurs can't seem to get the combination right on the attacking end. Good defense to hold the ball in. As Robin Roofs now will sail one long, as it's going to be headed forward off of Romero. And Granit Xhaka now will come down with it, as Betancourt does a very good job of stepping in the passing lane right there. And now he turns it over. And now Sunderland will try to get forward here. And all of a sudden, Spurs are making mistakes. As they are now adjusting without Mohamed Kudus off the right-hand side. Still, very good play from Wilson Odebear. That's a good ball through. Here's Archie Gray. as that ball was taken away, and Gray's going to have no choice but to shoot this one forward. It does find Richarlison, but it takes a bounce. And now Sunderland will hold possession. As they will find Gertrude off the right-hand side. And they're going to have to play this one back. And it goes all the way back to Robin Roop. So the one thing Spurs still are doing pretty well is pressing the ball. They've gotten some nice turnovers, but right there is going to be a foul. And it looks like that's going to be against Baptiste Tell in a central part of the pitch right there, as they took down Mayenda. As Spurs are trying to adjust, especially on the attacking side, you can see that they want to get forward quickly. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's trying to figure out the combination plays, especially on the right-hand side, as Pedro Porro's having to adjust with Randall Kolomoani as that ball goes in. And Ben Davis will try to head it forward. Here's Matisse Tell. That ball's taken away. And running back to the ball will be Granit Xhaka. And Xhaka is now going to try to ping one up the left-hand side. As Adingra tries to play it forward, that ball's going to drop. And apparently they're going to say offside. And Spurs will play it forward. Odebear will find Tell. Not exactly the greatest pass right there. And now Tell will try to play one in. And he misses the far post. Just a little wide right. Good opportunity right there by Matisse Tell. As that ball was immediately played forward. As Richarlison was onside. The ball could have been carried a little bit more by Wilson Odebear, who makes a light touch. And Matisse Tell had to adjust a little bit. But again, Tell has the space to get one off right there. And he just misses the far post. I like counterattacking Spurs. Here's Tell. As Tell's going to race down the left-hand side. 1v2. And now he's trapped. But he does find Archie Gray. Good ball movement. As Ben Davis will have to play this back, and he finds Van de Ven. Spurs now will try to shift to the right-hand side. It's Romero who finds RKM. Here's Colo. Here's Betancourt. Here's Ben Davis. Davis now will play one in. Ooh, and it finds Richarlison. And there's going to be a whistle, and it looks like Aldrete is down. But Ben Davis's ball in looks like it found Richarlison. And it looks like maybe there might have been some head-to-head contact here between Richarlison and Aldrete. As we see it again, that ball goes in. There might have been some head-to-head contact there. And it looks like Aldrete is up. So this will be a Sunderland goal kick here, as Bruce now will hold possession. And here we go. As the ball finds its way back to Aldrete. And he's going to try to play one forward to Adingra. As that ball is going to find, looks like it finds Wilson Odebear. So here comes Spurs now. And here's Archie Gray. And now Romero will play one off the left-hand side, finds Matisse Tell. Here's Tell attacking into the box. And again, errant passes that kind of kill the momentum. But Matisse Tell attacking the box is something different. There's a ball in. But it finds Odebear off the clearance. And now Matisse Tell will continue to hold this one in. Here's Tell again. And he's going to lay this one off. And it's Betancourt. Lays it down to the right. That ball was nearly turned over here. Oh, nice play by Mickey Van de Ven. Here's Pedro Porro off the right. Lays it into Romero. And Romero has nowhere to go except for Porro. And now Spurs looks like they've kind of stagnated here in their buildup. Here's Wilson Odebear now. Odebear attacking 1v1. And that ball is going to take a deflection, but it's going to go out off of Gertruda. So this will be, looks like another Spurs corner. So at least they were able to work themselves into a set piece. But the clinical passing needing to finish some of these attacking sequence over the last 10, 15 minutes has gotten a little shaky at best for Spurs. It looks like they've kind of regressed in that department. As Matisse Tell will now take this corner. As Tell puts one in, far post. But that drops to Romero. Here's Van de Ven! As Van de Ven gets a set piece goal, and Spurs now grab the lead as it's 1-0. Or was that the deflection off of Ben Davis? Who cares? Spurs lead 1-0 as they're able to find something off a set piece as that ball literally cleared the 6-yard box as it fell to Romero. And Van de Ven put it on, but yes, it was tipped in by Ben Davis as Spurs lead 1-0. And this is exactly what Spurs absolutely needed. The early lead, gain a little bit of momentum here. So Ben Davis gives Spurs the nice little 1-0 cushion here as we are in the 31st minute. As play resumes, as this ball finds Robin Roofs. And that ball will get pinged forward here. Speaking of Davis, as he takes the header and plays it forward. And now that ball's turned over. It's Wilson Odebear as that ball's going to go out. Good, good hustle by Spurs here to stick with it, even when there are shaky moments. They were able to come back and nick a set piece goal. So Spurs lead 1-0. As Romero will play one forward to RKM. That's a heavy touch. Here comes Sunderland as they're going to play this one forward. It looks like it's Sirkin. Tries to play one forward. That's going to take a deflection as Romero will clear it. So that'll get out for a Sunderland throw-in. But I will say that there was a lot of skepticism with Ben Davis put into this starting 11, and it paid off. It certainly paid off for Thomas Frank. As Ben Davis has actually been pretty good delivering balls in, and then also right there on the set piece, getting the nicking the goal. As Odebear will try to play it forward. As looks like that was Romero that sprang RKM off the right side. As that ball will go into a central area, but it's Gertruda who will try to clear it. As that ball will find Pedro Porro. And there's going to be a whistle here, as Poro will hit the deck here. It looks like that's going to go against Adingra. That touch might have been a little too heavy for Poro, but he was able to recover right there. And it looks like Adingra's left arm caught Pedro Poro, so Spurs will actually have the benefit here with the free kick, as it will be Christian Romero. As Romero will play it forward, it's RKM. That wasn't exactly the greatest pass, as it looks like last touch by Adingra, so this will be a throw-in. As we're in the 34th minute, it hasn't necessarily been perfect, but Spurs do have the 1-0 lead. The question is going to be whether or not they take their foot off the gas in the second half, as that long ball was looking for both Matisse Tell and Richarlison, but it was played out by Aldrete, as Ben Davis will take the throw in here. And that's a quick throw into Richarlison, who finds Tell. Here's Ben Davis, who nearly mishandles it. And Spurs have to play this all the way back. Unreal. And it looks like Vicario is trying to play long, but it drops to Odebear. And Odebear just absolutely sails it wide right. Another opportunity missed right here by Spurs. And it looks like, I think it may actually have been a foul on RKM right there. But that being said, it came down to Spurs in a central area, in a dangerous area. And Odebear can't get off a clean shot. And it's Granit Xhaka who's going to be pressing forward. Here's Adingra off the left-hand side. Into Xhaka, who plays it back to Adingra. And it's Gertruda as they work it all the way to the right. Here's Hume. Good ball in. Ooh, good deflection right there by Mickey Van de Ven as they put one in. And I think that might have been Lafie making a central run right there. Good ball movement right there by Sunderland. The clever runs is something that Spurs have to watch out for. If it wasn't for Van de Ven right there, that was a clean look at net. As Mukalele will throw this long, as Richarlison will head it out. Right there is Hume, who's going to put one on. Ooh. And that was an absolute cracker that sailed over the bar right there, as he just stepped in and put one on. That was an absolute cracker of a shot right there. It just sails over the crossbar right there. Spurs are fortunate that this match isn't tied 1-1. Here's Odebear. Good touch right there. As Matisse Tell was absolutely defended by two, but he's able to work himself out. But there's Granit Xhaka to step in. Oh, and Spurs are able to clear. As it looked like Sunderland, again, we're working into the central parts of the pitch. Deep in Spurs territory. It was just a little wayward pass right there that Pedro Porro was able to clear. As we are approaching the 38th minute, so about 7 more minutes left here in the first half. And it feels like Sunderland now is gaining a little bit of confidence as they are working the ball deep here. Here's Sirkin. Finds his captain. As Xhaka will play it off to Adingra, 1v1 against Porro. And Porro does a very good job defensively of picking the pocket. As that ball will get tipped out right there. So this will be a Spurs throw-in. For a while there, it felt like Spurs were getting forward with a sense of urgency. And it feels like they're still trying to do that. I guess credit Sunderland of adjusting. As Archie Gray will play this off to Romero. And he's got to go all the way back with it. So it's Vicario who goes long. As that does find Betancourt. So Spurs will hold possession here. As Ben Davis now is going to try to play one forward. He's got Matisse Tell. And he finds Matisse Tell. And Tell's got to play it back to Davis. So there was nothing there. Good forward ball. And it's Archie Gray. Looked like Gray was looking for... Looked like Ben Davis made a nice little run right there. As RKM has nowhere to go. Here's Betancourt. And now Spurs are stuck at the halfway line. That's a good ball in. Finds Odebeer. Good tackle right there by Hume. And now Sunderland's looking to break here. Good defense right there by Pedro Porro to stop it. As we are now in the 40th minute. As the ball finds Aldretti now off the right-hand side. As it finds Adingra, who's got to play it back. Here's Madwicki. As Aldretti will push it forward up the left-hand side. As Aldretti will try to play it forward. Stepping in front of that is Betancourt. RKM will try to play it forward. Stays on the ball. Tips it. And there's just nobody there except for Madwicki. As Spurs were a little clunky right there in their counterattack. And now it's interesting because now Spurs aren't pressing with the same intensity as we saw early in the game. It almost feels like they're a little bit more defensive. As that ball does eventually find Ben Davis, who plays it back to Vicario. As Betancourt springs Romero. And now looks like Sunderland is trying to pin Spurs deep here. Here's Van de Ven. As they find Ben Davis, yeah, they are doing a good job of pinning Spurs deep here. As that ball's turned over. As Spurs couldn't find a way forward. Oh, nice play right there by Odebeer, who takes the ball away, plays it forward. It's Randall Kolo Moani down the right-hand side. Moani. Richarlison. And he found Richarlison, but Richarlison could not get a clean strike on that one as that goes way, way wide. But Spurs, again, break forward. As Kolo Moani had a step, tried to play it in, and did find Richarlison. but Richarlison could not get a clean shot off there. As we're in the 43rd minute now, here at the coming close to the end of the first half here. Spurs started off pretty aggressive. And two things change. That's a good play by Richarlison, who stays on it. Richarlison tries to play it central. Here's Tell now. Tell, who tries to attack it. Good tackle by Midwakey. Here's Betancourt. Two things happened for Spurs. First, it was Kudus, who came off what looked like a little bit of a hit pointer right there, which kind of can change the complexity of what Spurs were trying to do. RKM came in, and it felt like at that point Spurs had to adjust. Were able to nick a set-piece goal, but since then they've been clunky on the counterattack, and their buildup is pretty much the same, as they're going to whistle a foul against Richarlison there. As it looks like it was Hume that hit the deck there. As this first half has progressed a little bit, it looked like Sunderland was getting a little comfortable pushing the ball forward. They were making clean passes, getting guys into good positions. Don't get me wrong, Spurs defense have been good. They've made it difficult, as Sunderland has yet to really get a legit shot on net. So from that standpoint, Vicario really hasn't had much to deal with. So from that standpoint, yeah, that's pretty good. But we're looking for, we're looking from consistency from half to half. And here's Granit Xhaka now. Oh, they could have played one forward and do a dinger right there. Instead, Sunderland now is going to try to play it down the right-hand side. Here's Hume. Hume is going to try to play one in. Ooh, and he had Brobbery cutting in, as that ball does find Vicario. That was the right opportunity right there. Good idea from Hume, because he did have Brobbery cutting in. Ball was just a little too far forward right there, as that ball will find its way out. So this will be a Spurs throw-in. As Medwakey was the last to touch it right there. 3 minutes, by the way, of extra time here at the end of the first half. As Spurs hold possession, as Van de Ven had to play it back to Vicario. It's the little subtleties, with the first 25 minutes compared to the last 20. Spurs aren't necessarily getting forward in the same manner. They're, even off of throw-ins high, they were attempting just to try to get the ball forward. And it doesn't seem like they're doing that with the sense of urgency as they did in the first 20, 25 minutes. As Tell will try to play one in. That's headed away by Aldredi. Headed forward by Odebear, but it finds Granit Xhaka. As Van de Ven does a good job right there off the right-hand side to take the ball back. It seems like Spurs have kind of taken their foot off the gas towards the end of this first half. They nicked the goal, and it feels like Spurs are okay holding possession, as this one will try to find Richarlison. As Midwecki does a good job right there. And now I think they're going to say, are they giving Spurs? No, they're not going to. I was going to say, did he inadvertently last touch it? That's going to be a corner. No, it's not. So here comes Sunderland now. And now they're going to try to play one forward. as Ben Davis does a good job right there. And I think that just might be the end of the first half. All right. So interesting first half for Spurs, as on the one hand, yes, they did a very good job of, attacking with intent. And from that standpoint, you kind of like the ball movement. You were kind of impressed with some of the runs that they were trying to make, especially on the counterattack. It looked like they were trying to break as much as they possibly can. And then Mohamed Kudus goes out, and then it changes the complexity of what Spurs were trying to do, because they don't necessarily have the pace and physicality that Mohamed Kudus brings you. And all of a sudden, it looked a little different. And yes, Spurs did a very good job of nicking that goal off the set piece. But since then, it's been a little bit different. It almost feels like they've taken their foot off the gas to some extent. We'll see exactly how that plays out. Let's go ahead and check out the stats. And Spurs currently lead the possession battle 53% to 47%. That seems about right. The XG right now is 0.90 for Spurs to 0.07 for Sunderland. Total shots, Spurs 8, Sunderland 2. Shots on target, Spurs 4, Sunderland 0. And Spurs have had one big chance that they were able to capitalize on off the set piece. Accurate passes, Spurs 183, Sunderland 156. Fouls committed, Spurs 4, Sunderland 3, and Spurs right now lead the corner battle 2-1. And this is the reason why I think they've taken their foot off the gas, because XG from open play, Spurs 0.30. 0.30 is absolutely, it's nothing right there. But that being said, Sunderland's only 0.04. When you look at the shots, 8 total, 6 of those came from inside the box, 2 from outside. Sunderland only has 1 shot each. Total passes, Spurs 221, Sunderland 204. Passes in the own half, Sunderland 96, Spurs 83. Passes in the opposition half, 100 to 60. Accurate long balls, Spurs 13, Sunderland 6. Accurate crosses, Spurs 3, Sunderland 0. Throws is 11-9 to Spurs. Touches in the opposition box, and this is the difference in that first half. Spurs have 20 touches in Sunderland's box versus Sunderland's 2. Spurs have been offside 3 to Sunderland's 1. No cards have been issued. That's good. Defensively, the tackle battles, Sunderland leads that one 7-3. Interceptions, Spurs 5, Sunderland 3. Blocks are even at 1. Clearances, 15-9 Sunderland, and keeper saves 2-0 to Sunderland. Duels 1, Sunderland 23, Spurs 20. Ground duels 15-13 Sunderland. Aerial duels 8-7 Sunderland. Successful dribbles, Spurs 5. Spurs 5, Sunderland 4. So that is your halftime stats. And it pretty much reads exactly how it's been playing. And again, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this thing is going to progress in the second half, because one of the things that Spurs have yet to do, and, notwithstanding that Manchester City match early in the season, Spurs have yet to put a team to the sword. And it's one of those things where you want to see, right? Because as of right now, if you ask me, I think the fan base is kind of fractured right now. And that would be something, a convincing type of victory where you can point to and say, okay, cool, I can kind of understand exactly what's going on. One of the things you do not want to see is Spurs just kind of pump the brakes and not get forward with the same type of ambition and intensity as we saw earlier in the match. And it seems like there's been a slow progression back to the mean towards the end of the first half. You're not necessarily seeing interior runs, especially when we're playing in our little horseshoe style, allowing Sunderland to press the ball and put ourselves in a position where the ball is going backwards. It's one of the things that you don't want to see, that regress back to the mean, because one of the things that is absolutely needed is momentum. And when Spurs are actually getting forward, and they're looking a little lively, it's going to set that tone and it's going to set that momentum where other players are going to look at it and be like, okay, cool, man, we're actually trying to be on the front foot. So they're actually going to be in that mentality where they're going to try things. And that was the thing in the first 15, 20 minutes is they were trying things. You saw, Pedro Porro, try to flick on a long shot right there. You know what I mean? You saw, Porro from that right-hand side continuing to play balls to the far post. And, you were seeing Richarlison in very good areas to kind of be dangerous. Outside of, from that point, as we get to the end of the first half, you're not necessarily seeing that anymore. And even on the counterattack, it doesn't look like there's confidence, right? Towards the end there, that nice ball that was won in the middle of the pitch by Wilson Odobert, who played it forward, to Randall Kolo Muani. And of course, Kolo Muani doesn't have that open field speed. And so as he was coming into the box off the right-hand side, instead of trying to maybe even take a long shot from that standpoint, maybe put Spurs in a position to get a rebound, maybe, he tries to flick one on. And of course, it's behind Richarlison, and Richarlison can't square that ball. And then all of a sudden, something that, looked like it was, potentially going to be a good goal scoring opportunity, Spurs put themselves in a position where they kind of revert again. And so from that standpoint, there's going to have to be some sort of switch. And if that means that, maybe it is potentially bringing in Lucas Bergvall, and maybe even putting Wilson Odobert or Matisse Tell on the right-hand side. And then from that standpoint, when we get into those areas where we win balls in the middle of the pitch, the ball can go forward, and now all of a sudden you actually have that speed and that length off the wings, and who knows how that would translate. But as of right now, I get the feeling that what we're seeing on the pitch is what we're going to see to start the second half. So the question, I guess, for you guys is, outside of that first 20 minutes, towards the end of the first half, was there anything that you guys saw that, gives you a little bit of confidence to start the second half? You guys let me know. By the way, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. All right, let's quickly take a look at the Premier League real quick as we're looking at matches. All right, so yesterday, Aston Villa beat Nottingham Forest 3-1. And Villa's kind of playing some good ball right now. Morgan Gibbs-White did score one for Forest in the 61st minute, but it was Ollie Watkins in the 45+1 and John McGinn that actually had that bag to brace yesterday as Aston Villa continues their good run of form. Brighton beat Burnley. Not necessarily shock, as Jorginho Rutter scored in the 29th minute, and Yasin Ayari scored in the 47th. As Brighton picks up the 3. Poor Burnley. They're going to get relegated. Wolves, how about this one? Wolves get their first win by beating West Ham 3-0. Goals from Jan Arias. Wang Hee Chan on a penalty in the 31st minute. And Mateus Mane as Wolves. Congratulations for Wolves. They get their first win against a West Ham side that will get relegated, unfortunately. It's actually pretty shocking, but it is what it is. Arsenal beats Bournemouth 3-2. That was an interesting game, as Evan Nielsen opened scoring off in the 10th minute. Gabriel Magalhaes scored in the 16th minute. Declan Rice bags a brace in the 54th and 71st minute, as Junior Krupi scored in the 76th minute. That was actually quite an entertaining match yesterday. Unfortunately, Bournemouth was not able to pick up the points or even get a result, but they actually somewhat took it to Arsenal. Leeds United and Manchester United both played to a 1-1 draw, as the American Brendan Aronson scored in the 62nd minute. 3 minutes later, though, Matías Cunha equalizes, and that's where that match continue. That's where that match ended up. And of course, right now, at the half, Brentford leads Everton 1-0 as Igor Thiago scored in the 11th minute. So there's that. Newcastle and Palace are even at the half, 0-0. And as we are approaching the halftime, Fulham right now leads Liverpool 1-0 as Harry Wilson scored in the 17th minute. So there could be some upset City today. And of course, later Man City will play host to Chelsea. So from that standpoint, when we're looking at some of these standings right now, with the draw against Leeds United, Manchester United is sitting 2 points adrift from Liverpool when it comes to the top four. Brentford, if Brentford holds this one off, they're going to be at 30 points, even with Chelsea. Same thing with Fulham. And of course, if this score holds out here at the stadium, Spurs will move to 29 points, and now all of a sudden they are literally just 2 points adrift from the European spot. So, making sure that this 3 points is secure is going to be absolutely huge. And of course, if Sunderland can't pull even, they're going to drop even with Spurs, and all of a sudden now Sunderland, that was at one point in the top 5, now all of a sudden will sit at 10th. But that being said, they're still going to stay up. They're not going to they're not going to collapse. But now all of a sudden, when you kind of look at the table, from spots 14 to essentially 6 is only separated by 3 points. And that's absolutely just crazy. This Premier League can break at any point. And of course, then you have, Bournemouth and Leeds that look like they're probably going to, both of those teams are going to stay up. Unfortunately, I don't see a scenario where West Ham is going to recover. Granted, they're only 4 points off the drop, but still, they're playing absolutely terrible football from that standpoint. So as we get back to Spurs v Sunderland, it's going to be interesting because Sunderland is still right in the mix here. Now, granted, when you look at their attacking sequences, a lot of bad balls played in, and you would probably think that Regis Labrie is going to switch things up potentially at the half for them to be a little bit more cleaner when it comes to their ball movement. I don't necessarily think we're going to see a lot of changes. Maybe it might be somewhat of a tactical switch. We'll see. For Spurs, it is to start the second half much in the same way that they started the first half. And that is making sure that they are attacking, essentially with ambition and purpose. They seem to get away with that in the first half. Yes, they got a goal, fantastic, but they actually had multiple opportunities to put this thing away in the first half. And it was a lot of unforced errors, a lot of mistakes. And from that standpoint, Spurs have nobody else to blame, but we are getting started. We are getting ready to start the second half here from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons and also hit the notification bell. And it looks like Sunderland will hold possession as that ball's played back to Robin Roofs, as that ball will go forward. And it gets headed on to Vicario. So I absolutely, by the way, I hate that. I hate how teams start that way, by essentially throwing away possession by playing it back to their keeper. I don't know. Maybe I'm old school where it's like, if you have an opportunity to hold the ball, then hold it. Don't just give it away. As there is a foul there, so this will be a Spurs throw in here off the right-hand touchline, so it'll be Pedro Porro. And as that ball is going to get played played back to Romero. You knew that was going to happen. As Vicario now will play it forward. Headed on. That's taken away right there. Good ball forward right here. And it's a Dingra who's going to play it in. Oh. And again, and it looked like Sunderland made a boo-boo right there. Looked like there was a step over by Lafie right into a turnover. And it looks like on the exchange right here, it was circa, it looks like it might have been, Sirkin against Richarlison right there. And he grabs his hand and pulls it down. So, there's going to be a yellow card here. And that's going to be the first yellow of the match. It's going to go against Sirkin and Sunderland. As play resumes here. And it's going to be Romero. And it looks like last touched is going to be off of Pedro Porro. So Sirkin will play it in. And there's going to be a whistle automatically against Rodrigo Betancourt. As it looks like as Lafie was pulled down. So this will be a free kick, and it's going to be Granit Xhaka from a deep position. As that ball is going to go in, and it finds Lafay. As Spurs will come away with possession. But immediately it's taken away by Lafay. And Lafay should have just played one in. Instead, he holds the ball. As that's going to go out, and I think this is going to be a throw-in for Sunderland off the right-hand touchline here. Excuse me, the left side. And so it looks like Medwicki will be responsible for the long throw in here. I kind of like those Sunderland shirts, man. I kind of like those. Those are kind of nice. As that ball will go in. Headed on forward. But held in by Sunderland. And now he's going to go a ball in, headed on. Right there was Vicario, and it looked like Sunderland got a good look at that one. Not enough power off the head right there, as Vicario was there to make a pretty easy save here. But Sunderland is coming out pressing here, as that ball will get out. Last touch by Sunderland, so this looks like this will be a Spurs throw in here. As they look at that replay again, and it looked like, it looked like Mayenda was there. Got a nice little clean look at it. But Spurs here will hold possession as Pedro Porro will try to move it forward. And it looks like there's going to be another card here. Yeah, it will. And it looks like that might be against Eldredi, as that ball came forward through a central area, and it looked like Richarlison had the leverage on Eldredi, who just literally just holds Richarlison up by his shirt. So that's easily going to be a yellow card right there. So now in the span of 5 minutes, Sunderland has 2 yellows. As looks like play is going to resume here with Romero. And Romero's going to try to play one in. Tried to get flicked on by Betancourt, but that ball will now come away. 1v1, it's a Dingra. Here's Granit Xhaka now. Xhaka will move it to the left. And it's a Dingra who's going to play one. Back post, headed forward. Oh, good clearance right there by Ben Davis. And it looks like Maeda right there nearly took down Vicario, but good clearance right there by Ben Davis. As that we were pretty much 1-1 right there. That was a very good defensive performance right there. And here comes Pedro Porro. Spurs are trying to press the tempo here. Lays it off to Richarlison off the right-hand side. Richarlison will try to put one in. That ball is going to be take a deflection off the Sirkin. As we see it again, Adingra just floats one in. And it looked like it could have been offside too. As that ball came down, and Ben Davis was right there because Brian Broadbury was right there. As it looked like it was Hume who put one in, and it was Ben Davis to clear it because Broadbury was literally right there. So this will be a corner, and it'll be Pedro Porro. As this ball get whipped in. Headed on forward right there. Looked like it was Ben Davis again. But that ball was right at Robin Roofs. Easy save right there. And it now looks like Sunderland is going to try to play one forward. As it looks like there's going to be a whistle. And I think this is going to go against Sunderland here. And you wonder when Regis Labrie is going to start making changes. Something is going to have to give for Sunderland. They are not playing that clean, decisive, counter-attacking football that got them to where they are. That's a good pass forward. And now Dreddy will take this one away, and now we'll play it up and out. So actually, it'll stay in. It'll just find Romero. Oh, nice passing. Here's Archie Gray. And it's taken away by Matisse Tell. Here's Gray again. Lays it off to Pedro. Pedro will play one in. There's just nobody there. And now Sunderland will have to clear it. But oh boy, that's a mistake right here. Here comes Sunderland as Romero couldn't clear it. Lays it off to Broadbury. Broadbury shoots. Oh. And it goes wide. That was nearly a costly mistake right there by Romero, who tried to play it back. And it was just a mishit as Brian Broadbury comes to collect it. Ben Davis couldn't get there. And then it was Maeda who played it forward to Broadbury as Ben Davis got the angle right there. So this will be a Sunderland corner. And it looks like Xhaka will whip one in. And that ball's going to get headed out by Richarlison. Here's Gutruda. And he's going to play one in. And that's going to get headed away by Richarlison. But right there is Hume. And he's going to play one up. That's going to take a deflection. But it's going to find Adingra. Press forward, my man. As that ball will go in. Headed down by Van de Ven. It will find Rando Kolomwani. But that ball's going to be tipped away. And now here comes Spurs off the counter as that ball gets played forward. Here's Richarlison. Tried to play one across. That takes a deflection. As Sunderland's going to try to break out of this. Oh. As here's Sirkin now. Lays it off to Adingra. Plays it back to their captain. And Sunderland now will try to work it from left to right. But it's Granit Xhaka now. As Mukalele now will try to play it into Xhaka. And there's nothing going there, so that ball gets played back to Aldrete. There's a good ball forward into Robbery, but it was Christian Romero that literally just had good defense on him. That's the right move, but Robbery's got to do a better job against Romero right there. But as we watch this counterattack, Spurs had two runners off the left-hand side there, but in that situation, Richarlison's just going to have to take a shot. The passing laid back was just not there, and so from that standpoint, if you're Richarlison, you literally just either go short side and try to play one past Roofs, whatever the case may be. Sometimes you're going to have to be selfish as a striker, and he actually did have a little bit of the back post open. But that being said, it's you're going to have to take your chances when you get them. Spurs had a golden opportunity that they weren't able to cash in right there. And it looks like there is going to be a free kick here, deep in Sunderland's area here. As looks like Pedro Porro will be sitting on this free kick. So we got Richarlison, Betancourt, Davis, Romero, and Van de Ven literally all at the back post. At the near side is going to be Archie Gray. And now they spread out. As that's cleared away by Robbery. Balls to Matisse Tell, who's going to have to play this one back. Odegaard now tries to chip one up the right-hand side. Finds RKM. And there's just nowhere to go, so he has to play this one back. And now Odegaard will play one in. Archie Gray, but that goes wide. As it looks like not even on set pieces can we find some organization. So it's a little disconcerting. But Sunderland will make the first change as Sirkin will come off and Mundell will come on. As this will be a goal kick here for Sunderland. As Roofs will play it off. Here's Aldrete. Makes a nice little crossover on Richarlison. And now they'll try to attack up the right-hand side. As Xhaka will play it all the way back to Aldrete. And that ball will go forward. And it looks like that'll go off Romero. So this will be... Oh, I guess it didn't go off of Romero. Interesting. Spurs have the throw-in. And Betancourt automatically plays it back to Vicario, who sends this one long. As, that Aldrete versus Richarlison is not exactly a winning combination there. So Sunderland will actually have possession here as that ball's taken away. Here's Richarlison. Lays it off. Pedro Porro. And there's Robin Roofs to deflect it. Here comes Sunderland now. Good tackle right there by Betancourt. Spurs will take it over. And now there is a yellow card against Lafie. And Spurs will have another opportunity. Great sliding tackle right there by Rodrigo Betancourt to keep possession. As Granit Xhaka nearly made a costly mistake there. But Sunderland was able to get back and get bodies in position. But at the same time, it's like there was an opportunity to make a short turn and put one on net. As Spurs yet again miss another opportunity, but this is going to be a free kick. And here's Porro is going to play one in. As that is cleared, but it finds Matisse Tell, and there's going to be a whistle here. They're going to say offside. As we reach the 60th minute, Spurs still lead 1-0. It almost seems like it's been a battle of attrition because Sunderland's having trouble getting forward. Spurs' attack seems to have fizzled out here. As Pedro Porro will win that back. Good play by Archie Gray. And Gray will still win this ball. Good hustle. Here's Matisse Tell, except that pass to Tell had nothing on it, allowing Sunderland to close the space here. As now Spurs will just hold the ball here, as Vicario now will play this one long. As Richarlison will head it forward. Here's Matisse Tell as he loses that battle with Gertrude. As Sunderland will come away with the ball here. Nice little play right there by Granit Xhaka. So here comes Sunderland as they find Mundell. There's a ball forward to Hume. Good defense right there by Rodrigo Betancourt to not allow that cross to go in. So this will be a corner here for Sunderland. As Spurs literally have taken the foot off the gas here. And it just so happens that because Sunderland just can't seem to get consistently forward, that Spurs have been able to hold this lead. As Vicario will punch this out, but right there is Granit Xhaka off the right-hand side. This ball gets played back. Hume is going to go in. There's a shot. Ooh, and it just goes wide. As Adingra, nobody closed the space on Adingra, and he was able to turn and put one on. As Wilson Odegaard left the space. As Ben Davis, all Ben Davis can do is at least try to get a body in front of it. Is Adingra had to shoot to the near post, and he nearly chalked one in right there. Spurs are fortunate as this ball's going to get played forward now. And it looks like this one will go out, and Spurs will have to throw it off the right-hand side. So something's going to have to give for both of these teams. It looks like Thomas Frank is content. Holding a 1-0 lead here as that ball will get out. As this will be a goal kick here. Golly. This has been an absolute letdown. As it looks like Robin Roof has signaled everybody to get down. As now the Sunderland fans, the traveling supporters, are trying to sing their side back into it. That's a good little pass forward. Good tackle right there by Rodrigo Betancourt. That'll get out for a Sunderland throw-in. As Midwicki now down the right-hand side. That's a good ball forward. Oh. As it looked like Adingra had trouble containing that one. Good tackle right there. They couldn't hold it in. And it looks like they're going to make another change here. As it looks like Ballard is going to check in. And Ballard is one of their good young players. Plays hard, pretty good through the air. So Ballard checks in. And it looks like maybe Regis Labrie is going to go with 3 in the back. As Pedro Porro tries to play one forward, that's going to be tipped away. And that's going to be a foul on Rodrigo Betancourt against Gertrude. So this will be a free kick as play resumes. And there's a ball in, headed away by Romero. As Aldrete does a very good job right there of keeping Sunderland in Spurs territory here. And Granit Xhaka will play one forward. As Granit Xhaka tried to sky one right in. But it's, again, still held in by Sunderland here. As that ball gets played to the left, it's Mundle. There's nothing there. As Ballard now will try to play one in. Tipped away right there by Porro. Headed on forward by RKM, but kept in by Sunderland. And they'll try to reset here. As Gertrude now will try to play one in. Robbery got on it. And it looks like Romero's down. This has actually started to get a little ugly now. As Spurs 100% have reverted back to the mean. They're not necessarily pushing forward. It seems like they are content with holding on to a 1-0 lead. And it just so happens that, Sunderland are not able to get forward. And it feels like they're running out of ideas. So that kind of plays into Spurs, hands, at least offensively here, that they are comfortable holding on to this 1-0 lead. But things can change on a dime. As that ball will take a deflection off of Pedro Porro. So this will be a Sunderland throw-in. As Hume now will play it to a central area. It's Gertrude now. As they will push up the right-hand side. That was nearly taken away. Here's Ballard. And we'll play it to Aldrete. Here's Mundle. 1v1 against Porro. And that is going to be good defense right there by Pedro Porro. And it looks like this will go out for a Sunderland corner. As Sunderland is looking to get this match back to 1. That ball is going to be headed off on the near post. Here comes Spurs now. 2 versus 2. It'll be Porro. And now we'll play it off. Oh, and RKM couldn't handle it. As he still holds it. Pushes in. Here's RKM. As Robin Roofs does a good job right there protecting the near post. As Wilson Odebear, looks like Odebear is down here. And it looks like maybe Mundle got him. Good ball, good ball across to find RKM, but looks like the touch was just a little too far forward. As it looks like maybe Mundle on the backside, looks like maybe Mundle got him a little bit with the elbow to the face, maybe. As we are 20 minutes away from the final whistle, Spurs clinging to a 1-0 lead. And it looks like we are going to see João Palhinha and Lucas Bergvall. And it looks like Odebear might come off. He will. Lucas Bergvall is going to check in for Wilson Odebear. And it looks like Archie Gray is coming off for João Palhinha. So Spurs are going with a little bit more of a defensive shell as they're looking to hold on here in the final 19 minutes of play. Not a bad game for Archie Gray. Played pretty well today. And also Wilson Odebear at times looked pretty good today as well too. So Spurs are going to be a little bit more defensive as they try to close this one out. As it looks like Lucas Bergvall will play a little higher up. Which is a little odd. As Robin Roos will play this one long. That's going to get out for a Spurs throw. As Palhinha now will try to hit the switch, and he does. And that ball is going to move forward to Lucas Bergvall. Bergvall has nowhere to go, so he's going to have to play this one back to Palhinha, and Palhinha's going to have to play this one back to Van de Ven. So Spurs now will try to reset. Here's Pedro Porro. As last touch right there by João Palhinha, who says he was pushed. And he was, but Spurs will try to press the ball, but Sunderland breaks out. Here's Ballard. And this is the same affliction which is going on with Sunderland is the exact same thing that's going on with Spurs. They're just they're not pushing forward. They're not getting any type of progressive runs. As that ball's trying to play forward. As that ball was taken away. As that ball will sail. And Ballard does a good job against Richarlison as that ball goes out. And now Richarlison will hit the turf. He's fine. As it looks like Spurs are now going to waste some time here. As it looks like Richarlison's fine here. So this will be a throw in here off the left-hand touch line. And they're going to try to play this one in the box long. As that'll be headed down. Held in by Spurs, though. Here's Palhinha. And he's going to have to play this one back. As Bergvall will send it all the way to the right side. Pushing forward is Pedro Porro. As that ball will get out. As there is a nice little tussle between Pedro Porro and Brian Brodbery. As we are in the 75th minute now, 15 minutes to play. Can Spurs hang on? As as they replay it, yeah, it does look like Pedro Porro does have a argument there, as Brian Broderick did shove him in the back, and then came back with a hand to the neck right there. But this, nonetheless, Sunderland will have possession as this ball is going to be played in. As there's going to be a whistle right there against Pedro Porro as Hume tried to cut the corner on him. As the minutes tick down, Sunderland has to try to throw everything forward, trying to find an equalizer. For Spurs, it's all about just keeping their defensive shape, as that ball will be headed away. And now here comes Spurs trying to break. There's that ball forward, just a little too far forward as Robin Roofs is right there, but he did have Randall Kolomwani on a run off the right side right there. Good idea. Couldn't play him on. And now here comes Sunderland. Here's a Dingra. Adingra tries to play one to the back. That's going to get all the way out. And, the interesting thing about this is just the subtleties in which Spurs have actually approached this match. From the off, it looked like Spurs were going to be aggressive, and it looked like they were going to attack with intention. That first 15 minutes of this one, they were looking fairly decent, and it looked like they were willing to make runs in, and they were able to try different things. And then as soon as Mohamed Kudus comes off and the complexity changed, and so at that point, so did Spurs willing to actually get forward. And yes, they were able to score as this ball finds Mundle, and that ball's going to get cleared. And as the first half progressed, you saw Spurs revert to the mean, and they stopped attacking with ambition. They stopped necessarily putting themselves on the front foot, and they just seemed to be comfortable protecting a 1-goal lead. And this entire second half, it has been more of the same. Far more comfortable just holding onto the ball, trying to, work work the ball in from deeper positions. And from that standpoint, they've lost their I guess you can say their attacking zeal. It feels, and that ball almost went on right there. Good stop right there by Vicario, as Lafie was in a good area, as that's Sunderland's first real threat, as Lafie got on the end of that one. Ooh. Good ball in right there. Ooh. Spurs are absolutely lucky. Is that actually that ball actually carried off the post right there? And this will be a Spurs goal kick as this ball is pinging around as it falls to Sunderland. And here comes Sunderland again. Good ball forward. As that will hit the... Oh, that's a good... And there's Broderick, and Sunderland is equalized. Oh, what an absolute gut to the punch to the gut right there. As Sunderland, this is what happens when you allow a team to hang around and you stop getting forward. And you thought that a 1-goal lead was going to be safe enough. And they figured it a way out. And now all of a sudden, instead of 3 points, you're staring down the barrel of 1. as they were able to free Brian Brobery up. Oh, what a dagger. What a heartbreaker. Oh. As Brobbey hits the equalizer. Oh. And now all of a sudden, Sunderland will make another change. As they're looking for 3 here. They have another 9 minutes plus stoppage as Mayenda will come off. And now coming on will be Chris Rigg. As Thomas Frank absolutely let this team down. This is what happens when you set yourself up to play not to win. That you're comfortable with a 1-goal lead, as there's going to be a yellow card right there. Against Rodrigo Betancourt. Yeah, if you're Thomas Frank, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Acting like a 1-goal lead is going to be good enough. Yes, Spurs defense has, for the most part, for 80 minutes, has played pretty well, but eventually your opponent is going to trying to work it deep, and that's exactly what happened. They were able to find the right combination to spring Brobbey, and all of a sudden, instead of keeping your foot on the gas, instead of trying to go for 2-3 goals and trying to push forward, you took your foot off the gas. And all of a sudden now, you allow your opponent to gain some momentum. This is why Thomas Frank is not a big-time coach. Because you have to have the killer instinct. And this is something that he absolutely doesn't have. How are you not going to continue to push forward? Stay on the front foot. You have a 1-goal lead, and you actually have your opponent exactly where you want them. And yeah, I get it, right? So Mohamed Kudus comes off, but you still have Randall Kolo Muani. And yes, it's not ideal, but you can still continue to press the issue. And as that first half continued, you saw Spurs revert to the mean, going back to more of a defensive shell, and got away from the things that were actually somewhat successful in the first half. And now all of a sudden, instead of 3 points, you're potentially staring at the barrel of walking away with no points, because you probably would expect that Sunderland is going to continue to push is going to be able to push the pace in these last 10 minutes. It's an absolute shambolic mindset to have. And this is why Thomas Frank is slowly losing the trust of the supporters, because of these type of decisions. We have absolutely steadily have looked terrible in the run of the play. Outside of those first 15 minutes where it looked like we were going to be up for it, we have slowly regressed in real time. It is just an absolute shambolic mindset to have. And this is why a guy like me who, yes, I do want the revolving door of coaches to stop with Spurs. But that being said, it's like when you actually have this guy here who is actively setting his teams up not to win and not taking advantage of an opponent that is struggling on the road themselves, and you allow them to come back in the game because you feel confident taking your foot off the gas. It's absolutely just a shambolic mindset to have. And this is, quite frankly, in real time. Would it surprise me if Sunderland gets the go-ahead goal? Not at all. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. As it looks like Spurs will make a double change. Unreal. I am at a loss for words, man. It really is. As Sunderland will hold possession here in the 88th minute. As that ball goes in, as it falls down to Pedro Porro, who tries to clear it, but Sunderland will hold it in. Ugh. As that ball will find Robin Roofs. As Sunderland has been on the front foot for the last 15 minutes. They got the equalizer. As that ball was a good ball forward. As that ball will make its way across the box, but it does find Lucas Bergvall. Now Jed Spence is going to try to jailbreak here. As that will get out. As we are now approaching the 90th minute. I'm at a loss for words, guys. As Mundell will have this one forward, as RKM is going to hold on to this one. Here's Porro. As Polinia. And they're going to say that's a goal kick. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. 6 minutes of added time here. As Ballard now will clear it. Yeah, this has been something, hasn't it? Here's Van de Ven. As they're going to try to find Jed Spence. That's good defense right there by Mukalele. So this will be a throw-in, and it'll be Lucas Bergvall. I am just at a loss for words. Progressively, we have taken our foot off the gas, essentially from that 20-minute mark in the first half. And instead of continuing to press the issue, because one is not going to be good enough against Sunderland. That's a team that is going to continue. Sure, their form on the road it's not like they are in the Stadium of Light, but it's a team that doesn't give up, that is still going to try to find a way in. And, to sit here and think that a 1-goal lead was going to be good enough. This is why Spurs fans have a hard time trusting Thomas Frank. As Porro will try to put one in. Here comes Sunderland. As that's going to be last touch by Rodrigo Bentancur. As it was Lefebvre right there off the left-hand touchline. So this will be a throw-in from Hume. It is absolutely unbelievable what has transpired in the last 15 minutes as this ball is going to try to play forward. As Sunderland will try to clear it forward. But it'll be Granit Xhaka now. And now here comes Sunderland trying to break forward. As that ball's going to go in. But right there is Vicario. And now here comes Spurs. It's Pedro Porro. It's Randall Colomwani. There's the chip. As it falls down to VDV. As this ball is going to be held by Bentancur now. As they're going to try to play it off the right. There's a ball in. Headed wide. Oh, and it was João Palhinha that was able to get on it. Now all of a sudden, now that Spurs have conceded, now all of a sudden they want to push in the final 10 minutes. And it's just unreal. Too little, too late. As Robin Roofs now will have the goal kick. As this ball will go long. As that's flicked forward. And that ball gets played all the way back to Vicario. As we are 1 minute away from an absolute disappointer. As that ball will get out. As that ball is going to get played back to Bentancur. As Broby gave chase. That's taken away. Here comes Sunderland now. And there's a whistle. As it looks like this is going to be a yellow on João Palhinha. As we are approaching the final 10 seconds here, so obviously Sunderland will be able to finish their attacking sequence here. As we have reached the 96th minute. As that ball will go in. Headed down, cleared. And there it is. Unreal. Well, that is the final here from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as Spurs and Sunderland will draw 1-1 in a match that never should have really gotten to that point. And I don't think I've ever really been just as disappointed as I have in real time. And, this is exactly why Spurs fans have a trust issue with Thomas Frank, because the reality is, from the run and play, we were just not good today. And as this game progressed, you saw the problems with how we were getting forward. There was just no continuity. And outside of, Ben Davis nicking a goal on a corner, you can't put yourself in a position where you think that's going to be enough. Not against a team like Sunderland. That's the thing. It's like for all the faults of a team like Sunderland, they're like, if you allow them to stick around, they're the type of team that is going to try to fight their way back into it. That's one of the things that, one of the things why people like Sunderland this year is because they're that team. They're the team that's going to fight. And it's, if you allow them to hang around, they're going to burn you. And that's exactly what happened today. The fact that, we start the match off with intensity to get forward. We start on the front foot, and we are trying different things, which is something that the Spurs attack just does not do. They're so freaking rigid in their principles of how they want to get forward. So it was actually kind of nice to see Pedro Porro take a long shot, right? You liked seeing, you liked seeing those runs that were able to spring balls. Now, of course, after Mohamed Kudus goes down, all of a sudden that goes away. It goes away for no inexplicable reason. And then all of a sudden we revert back to the mean, and now all of a sudden we can't string two passes together. And Thomas Frank is like, yeah, it's cool, man. It's cool. Yeah, it's cool. We have a defense. We can protect a 1-goal lead. We don't have to play for a second goal. And it's like, this is my biggest problem, right? And here's the thing. And maybe this is just me. Okay, maybe it's just my American way of thinking. The reality is I like a coach that actually has the killer instinct, that is looking to bury teams. Blood in the water. It's the blood in the water mentality, where we get a goal and all of a sudden you're going to build off that momentum, and you're going to play for 3. You're going to play for 4, and you're going to continue to push the tempo forward. And you're going to take risk. And that is not what we saw today. As a matter of fact, you saw Spurs take their foot off the gas, revert to the mean, and they allowed a team like Sunderland to hang around. And they weren't playing for the win. They were playing not to lose. And every single time you do that, you lose. As Dan Davenport will say, Frank isn't the guy to take the Spurs. And I 100% agree. 100% agree. The interesting thing, though, it's like it's a different team than what we saw against PSG in the Super Cup. You saw a team that was going to press and push the action and try to create turnovers. By the way, that's what happened in the first half in today's match. for the first 30 minutes, you saw a concerted effort to press high. And we actually got a few nice turnovers, and we were able to hold the ball in their half the pitch. But we did absolutely nothing with it. And then as soon as it was obvious, because we were making mistakes with the ball, what ends up happening? Away goes the pressing. Oh, it just drives me mad. Let's see. In the summer, Spurs boards need to get Poch back. Yeah, he's going to be available after the World Cup. 100%. 100% correct. And the thing about it is, it's like, for me, there's three elements of a club. It is the players, the coach, and the supporters. And even when you weren't necessarily having the best of years, you had a coach that knew how to keep everything pointed in the right direction. Whether it was Martin Jol, whether it was Harry Redknapp, whether it was Maurizio Pochettino, these coaches didn't blow smoke up the asses of the supporters. And they were forthright in saying, it's like, yeah, like there's certain players that need to get better. But that being said, let's get behind them and let's show our support. And for the longest time, we stood by this club. And now all of a sudden it seems like that's fractured. There is a level of distrust here. And these type of results scream. I'll be the first one to say it. These results scream that he's in over his head. That you would actively, in real time, get away with what is going to make you successful. We should have had 3 points today. We should have had it. And if Thomas Frank would have just continued to push forward, and I'm not talking about in the last 5 minutes, where we're just getting numbers forward for the sake of getting numbers getting forward. To me, this is a coach that does not have the killer instinct. And maybe it's going to take a guy like Maurizio Pochettino to come back in just to get everybody pointed in the right direction. Because I think there's a level of trust there. But as of right now, man, if you're Tottenham Hotspur and you saw what Chelsea was willing to do, they're in 5th place, and they just said, you know what? These aren't the expectation levels. There is a certain expectation of the way that we have to play, in the manner in which we do it, and the coach doesn't meet those expectations, so gone without even a second thought. And that's the difference between big clubs and those that are pretending to be big clubs. Because it's January. And we still have no idea who our best 11 is. We have no attacking identity shit. We have no team identity. From any given week, we have no idea what team is going to show up. And that is a direct reflection of the coach. It is the direct reflection of the guy who is supposed to be in charge. All right, let's go ahead and get into the stats in this one because... yeah. All right. Sunderland wins the possession battle 51-49. Spurs did win the XG battle 1.18 to 0.48. Total shots, Spurs 13, Sunderland 10. Shots on target, Spurs 5, Sunderland 3. Big chances, 2-0 to Spurs. Big chances missed, 1 for Spurs, none for Sunderland. Accurate passes, Sunderland 295, Spurs 283. Fouls committed, Spurs 9, Sunderland 6, and Sunderland ends up winning the quarter battle 5-3. 5-3. We only managed, again, only 3 corners. XG from open play, which also tells you the story. Spurs 0.52 to Sunderland's 0.31. Total shots, shots inside the box, Spurs 10, Sunderland 9. So it's a vast difference in the second half when you allow a team just to kind of stick around. Total passes, Sunderland 382, Spurs 360. Passes in the own half, Sunderland 158, Spurs 128. Passes in the opposition half 155 Spurs, Sunderland 137. Accurate long balls 26-20 Spurs. Accurate crosses 7-5 Spurs. Both teams had 21 throws. Touches in the opposition box, Spurs 33, Sunderland 19. Offside, Spurs 4, Sunderland 2. At the end of the day, discipline, the yellow card, Sunderland 3, Spurs 2. On the defensive side of the ball, Sunderland wins the tackle battle 17-15. Interception, Spurs 9, Sunderland 8. Blocks, Spurs won that one 3-2. Clearances, Spurs 32 to Sunderland's 26. And keeper save, Sunderland with 3, Spurs with 2. On the duel front, Sunderland absolutely dominated. 62 duels won to Spurs 52. Ground duels 34-32. Aerial duels 28-20 for Sunderland, except successful dribbles. Spurs with 11, Sunderland with 8. I seriously, man, I'm at a loss for words. I am absolutely at a loss for words, because these are the defining matches that you look back when your season's on a brink, and our ability not only not to be able to put a team to the sword, the fact is we can't close out. We can't close out Sunderland. And of course, the writing was on the wall, really, if you think about it. When you go back to that first Brentford game where we start off unbelievable and we go into the break up 2, and Thomas Frank takes his foot off the gas, because that's enough. That's enough scoring for today. You know what I mean? It's the exact same thing. It's like when certain things happen, seminal moments in the match where maybe things aren't as clean as you need, and then we just abandon it. And it just so happens that we were fortunate enough to nick a goal on a set piece, but still, it's not enough. You cannot allow teams like Sunderland to hang around, because they will figure out a way to punish you, and they did. That's to me is what makes me angry. It's not the fact that we still got a result. It's the fact that we threw away 3 points, a massive 3 points. So instead of actually getting the win, we're settling for something that we had no business settling. And to me, that is the reason why there's not a lot of trust and respect for this coach, because of the decisions that are made. And I understand, like, there's going to be certain times, and especially when Mohamed Kudus had to come off, and now Randall Cole Mwani's got to go in on the right side, a position that he's not necessarily comfortable with. And yeah, there were times where it kind of looked a little clunky, but one of the things you have to do is continue to go to the well. You have to be able to create your continuity, your momentum. And as soon as maybe a cross that wasn't exactly pinpoint, and it resulted in us not getting the clean shot on net, all of a sudden now you abandon it. Now you abandon the ability to get forward. You abandon the counterattack, and now all of a sudden you're reverting back to this clunky high possession type of attack that is absolutely toothless. It's absolutely toothless, and for large stretches, from essentially the 30-minute mark in the first half all the way to like the 80th, you're watching, you're essentially watching Keystone Cops getting forward, and it's like, you threw away a golden opportunity to put a team to the sword. And the sad fact of the matter is like Sunderland for a good portion weren't taking advantage. You know what I mean? Weren't taking advantage of their opportunities to get forward. So we actually had a very, very good opportunity that we threw away. And at that point, it is what it is, man. Like I wish I could be that positive reinforcement for Spurs fans. I wish I could. I wish I can come out here with the confidence week after week to be in that position to say, you know what, 3 points already in the bag before we even start, because we're playing with such, enthusiasm. We're playing with so much confidence that the opponent is irrelevant. We're not even remotely close to that. we're throwing away points. And it's like, I don't give a shit what the table said. We're miles away from being, a team that can put themselves in a European position, right? Because had we won, that would have put us at 29 points, and that would have put us literally right on the door of 6th place, 7th place, somewhere in that area. But instead, we didn't take advantage, and now all of a sudden we're still on the outside looking in at the top 10. And Sunderland continues their unbeaten run, and we're having these stupid conversations. It's unreal, dude. It's unfreaking real. Like right now, we're level on points with Fulham and Palace. Fulham, by the way, had a 1-0 lead, but they're currently down 2-1 to Liverpool. By the way, Liverpool is now all of a sudden putting themselves in a position. They're in the top 4 right now, so they're starting to close. They're starting to close the distance, but it's insane. It's insane that I personally believe, and this is the thing. When I look at this roster, I don't see a bad roster. I see a specific skill set in the players that we have, and we're not playing towards that skill set. That's what actually gets me upset. Because, and I always turn to, when I'm looking for answers, I'm always turning to my elders. And so I listen to former coaches, because there's a lot of wisdom in coaches that have actually been in that position where they're taking over a team that was struggling. And one of the things that you have to look at is what failed. You have to look at what's going to be successful, even if that means that your tactics, you're not going to be able to instill your tactics right away because the skill set is not there to execute said tactics. And so maybe you have to keep things simple. Because one of the things that you have to do as a coach is you have to build trust and you have to build credibility to put yourself in a position where you can actually build the team in your image. And the thing about Thomas Frank is that he doesn't have a CV. He doesn't have a European CV. Was never really in a position to put themselves in any of the European competitions. He doesn't have a deep cup run CV. Brentford was never those teams to make deep cup runs. And so from that standpoint, coming into Tottenham Hotspur, you have to build credibility. And if that means your tactics are simple, but they play to the strengths of your team, then you do that, because the one thing you have to do is get results. And from those results, you gain the trust of the fans. And then at that point, if things are progressing the right way, you can introduce wrinkles of your system. So by the end of the year, everybody is going to be on the same page, and you're going to have a couple transfer windows where you can actually bring in the profile of player that is going to be able to execute. And when everybody goes into that next season, everybody's going to be on the same page where you're going to be able to have that credibility in order to play a certain style. It's the same thing that Arne Slot did with Liverpool. He didn't start off by playing his high possession tiki-taka style football last year. He kept things the way that they were and just slowly kind of introduced different wrinkles. They won the league. I don't know how much more credibility you can have at that point because you won the league. And with that, he was able this summer to introduce his style of play. And yeah, there was going to be some growing pains, but now all of a sudden we're seeing Liverpool kick on. You knew that was going to happen. But with Thomas Frank, it's like, man, read the room, bud. Read the room. And understand that we don't have the type of personnel to play that style of football. And maybe that is scaling back and just literally, playing a style of football that's going to allow the freedom of your forward players to do what they can do best. And we have a lot of speed. We have players that are good with the ball in the feet, so just allow them to play that way. Take the handbrake off and roll the dice, because at this stage now you have everything to gain, and now you're kind of in that weird limbo phase where he can be sacked at any point because the results aren't there. There is no credibility. I don't know, man. Maybe it might be time to try something different, because what's happening right now is just, it's not good enough. All right, well, that's going to do it for me, guys. Just an absolute shit show today. And what started off like thinking that maybe, Spurs were going to take advantage of it. Instead, they absolutely shit themselves in the end. So instead of 3 points, it was 1. And now all of a sudden, we're wondering whether or not things are going to get better. It sucks, man. It sucks. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. You guys take care. Have a great afternoon.